guys, for today's practice we're going to be building up to half moon pose. If we have any type of props like blocks, thick books, or even a stable chair or table to use, I highly recommend that you do. So if we're ready, we're going to find any easy seat we need, and as always, taking that moment to settle in. And if we can, I invite you to just take a moment to notice the current state of the body. Just notice what might be going on in the body. Noticing how the shoulders and the elbows feel. Noticing the lower back, the neck. Can we notice how our body is feeling right now without judgments? So that means any achy spots, any stiff joints, any injuries. Can we regard that information, but not judge ourselves for it, and certainly not judge our body as good or as bad because of them? Now, if we can, I invite you to just notice where the mind is at. And we're trying our best to do the same thing here. So all those achy spots, all those injured spots, all those essentially stiff spots, can we notice that? Can we regard that information? But try not to judge ourselves for it. Again, we're going to try our best not to rate our mind right now as good or as bad. Just noticing. And one of the things we have been doing during our social distancing yoga is to make sure we remind ourselves that our body and our mind are doing the best they can with the resources they have, with what's going on around us. And we might even just take that moment to say thank you to our body and to our mind for trying its best to help us out, even if sometimes it feels a little misguided. Now, if we can, I invite you to notice that breath. Again, just notice how it feels to inhale. Notice how it feels to exhale. And that's really all we have to do. Can we practice noticing? Now, today might be a day that we feel like adding on, and that might come in the form of visualization. If you would like, I invite you to imagine your breath like a type of light. Now, some people like to imagine a literal light bulb. Others like to imagine that the light originates in their heart or in the center of the torso. There's really no wrong way of going about this, just whatever works best for you today. And if we can, on that inhale, I invite you to let that light get brighter and shine out. And on the exhale, it dims back. And likewise, on the inhale, it gets brighter, it shines out. And on the exhale, it comes back. Now I invite you to continue this as it works for you. And just really be curious about that light, if this is something that resonates with you. So as we breathe in, how does it shine out? How bright does it get? And likewise, what does it dim down to on the exhale? Again, we can make this our own. If we're imagining a light that's shining in the heart or in the center of the torso, do we like to imagine it shining out past our skin, or do we like to imagine it fills up the body with light? If we're imagining a literal light bulb or some other type of light, is it illuminating anything on the inhale? Again, give yourself that chance to be curious about these visualizations. There's no right or wrong way to go about it. Just give yourself that time to really focus on the breath, really make it your own. Again, that's one of the tenets of self-care in my eyes, is making sure you're doing what helps you the most, what resonates the most, and we can be curious about that. What will help me in this current moment? And can I explore what might help without expectation, without any prediction? Now, if we can, I invite you to give yourself just a few more breaths here. Now, when we are ready, we'll let our hands come together at the heart. And it's whatever way we want them to come together. It could be palms together, it could be palms gently over the heart. We can even lightly press the hands in towards the chest if that feels good. And I want you to set a positive intention, if that serves today. I want you to think of something that you can turn to, a character trait that can help. Is that resilience, presence, patience, caring, love, strength? Again, I'm rattling all these off because I want you to pick something that works best for you today. It doesn't have to be anything I've mentioned. And then when we're ready, we'll take in the inhale that we need. And the exhale could rest our hands against our legs. And always mindful the eyes could stay closed for as long or as little as we would like. And maybe we start with some light neck stretches. So we'll start first with some shoulder rolls. We'll shrug the shoulders up towards the ears and we can relax them back down. And we can just repeat this movement as it feels right for us. Now, if we can, I invite you to notice how those shoulders are moving. Again, when our mind is in a bit of a rapid state or even a rabid state, we notice that our movements can get a little jagged as well. We get a little faster. Maybe we walk faster. Maybe our hands are a little shaky. And I want you to see if you can let the shoulders move slowly and fluidly. And it's okay if the mind kind of protests. I know when I try to slow things down with the body more than the mind is comfortable for, the mind is immediate in letting me know its discomfort over it. But that's okay. Notice that discomfort in the mind. As always, noticing discomfort is different than ignoring pain. And then just see if you can breathe through it. Can you be present with that kind of discomfort? Maybe we slow it down just a little more. Now, when we are ready, we'll do one last rotation, maybe nice and slow. We'll relax our shoulders down. We'll get tall through the back, through the neck. And on our exhale, we'll let our right ear lightly find the right shoulder. And give yourself a moment with this. We're just going to let gravity do what gravity's going to do. We don't want to force anything here. It's okay if we're feeling a little constricted through the neck. A lot of us show our stress, our anxiety, our uncertainty, our fears through our neck muscles. We tend to tense up through them. So it's okay if things are feeling a little more rigid than they usually are. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. Now, if we're ready, we'll let our chin come down towards the chest. We bring it down however it feels right for us. Now, if it feels good, we might even play with a very gentle tuck of the chin. But again, being very careful not to force anything here. If the back of the neck needs a little more time before we do any movement, we don't move. We're just going to try our best to breathe in and breathe out. Now, if we're ready, we'll bring our ear to the opposite side, left ear towards the left shoulder. Again, we don't want to try to make them meet. That's never our goal here. We're just trying to find some stretch through our right side of the neck. And we're just trying to breathe. That's all we're doing here. Deep breath in if possible. Deep breath out. Now, when we're ready, we'll bring our chin down to the chest again. And we'll bring our right ear over towards the right side again. We'll take a moment, and it might just feel good to do a little movement here. Now, we don't even have to move with the intent of trying to find just that right stretch like we sometimes do. We can just tilt the chin a little bit, a little turn of the head. Just notice how it feels, noticing if there are some extra tender spots or extra tight spots. I know for me, when I do a little lift and a little tilt, I can feel it right on that left side. That's a nice place for me to hang out, but that might not be where you want to. But once we find that spot that we do want to spend a little extra time in, I invite you to stay there. And then we add on whatever we need. So if it's feeling extra tender, maybe we don't add on anything at all. Again, sometimes adding on can feel like taking away. Now, if we prefer, we could always take that right hand towards the left shoulder. Or maybe it's very lightly draped on the head. Again, checking in. If that's too much sensation, we ease back. That right or left arm can do whatever it needs. It might stay where it is. Sometimes it feels good to kind of reach it in front of us on the ground. Sometimes we want to reach for the wall, kind of point out the ground, or reach behind the back. What do you want to do today? What feels like your kind of stretch? We're just going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Now, when we are ready, we can let go. We can come back up. It's okay if things feel a little achy right now. We might just shake out the head a little bit, maybe a gentle head nod, or even a little side to side head nod. But mindful that sometimes it doesn't feel good to contract the very area that we stretched out, so it's okay if we want to skip that particular movement. We're just going to give ourselves a moment to help hit reset. And then if we're ready, we're going to try it on the opposite side. If we need more time, though, give yourself extra time. We're eventually letting that left ear find the left side. Now we might do that little bit of movement. Again, it's very subtle movement. So I'm not really moving all that much, maybe a couple of inches in total. Little chin tilts, little head turns, that's really it. And I'm paying close attention to that right side of the neck. Again, we're all going to have different experiences here, so make sure you're listening to your body. Now, only if it works for us. Once we found that spot that we kind of want to hang out in, I invite you to stay there. Now, maybe we take that left hand to the right shoulder, or maybe it gently drapes over the head. Maybe we like to reach for the ground, whether it's to the side of us, in front of us. We want to reach for the wall, reach behind the back. What feels good here today? And it's okay if it's a little different on this side. Again, we're asymmetrical creatures. What our dominant side needs is not necessarily what the non-dominant side needs. And just take that moment to breathe in and breathe out. Maybe one more full breath here. Now, if we can, we'll gently let go of the hand. We'll let the head lift up. We might need to shake things out. Maybe it feels good to do a light head nod or even that side-to-side head nod. Sometimes it feels good to kind of turn the head and tilt it a little bit. Again, all these different ways to help us out. But when we're ready, we'll meet in a tabletop position. Get there in your particular transition, whether you're rolling over the shins or swinging your legs around. Once we're there, we'll just do a few of our torso circles. We can always let our hips shift to one side, a little circle down and around towards the other side. And again, we can just move the same way we were moving through the neck. So if we like those circles, if making the same shape over and over again is maybe a little meditative, or it just feels good in the body, do that. If it feels good to just kind of move in whatever directions we need to move in order to help out our hips, let's do that. Again, make that time your own. Now, if we are going in circles or in a particular fixed pattern, I do invite you to go in the opposite direction. If you're kind of going free form, continue to go free form. Again, make this time your own. Going in one particular movement isn't necessarily better or worse than going free form, just a matter of what we need right now. Now, if we can, we're going to come back to center, back towards that tabletop position. And maybe just a few cat-cow movements as we're ready, so we could always drop the belly down and take our breath in. And then round our back, take that breath out. And again, we can just repeat this as this feels good for us, that drop of the belly, that rounding of the back. And we'll just repeat this as it works. Now we'll notice if we can add in a breathing pattern here. Does it feel good to inhale with the belly dropping? And then exhale to round the back, or maybe we prefer the inverse. Again, there's no right or wrong way of going about this, at least not universally. Just a matter of what works best for you today. Now, when we are ready, we're going to wind down from this nice and slow and on whatever it is you want to end on today. And once we come back to center, back towards that tabletop position, we'll take a moment, maybe a moment for the wrists, little shake out if we need to. We can always do that stretch, one hand at a time. Now we can play with our gate pose and potentially playing around with our balancing gait. It's also our kneeling half moon pose. Now if we'd like, from tabletop position, we might take our left leg, let the left leg extend out with the toes on the floor. Now if we can, we'll rotate that heel down. Now this can be our pose, we don't have to go further. Or maybe we lift up that left arm, maybe not. Now, as always, we want to think about what's connecting to the floor. So can I think about my right hand? Can I grip the mat? Can I think about that right shin against the ground? And then maybe I lift up the leg. It's okay if this is challenging, but I do want you to notice we have our left hip stacked over our right hip right now. We're going to try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out, and we'll come down. We'll come back to a table. We might need a moment for that right hand. We might not. Now, if we can, we try it on the other side. Now we're taking that right leg. We extend it out. We let that foot pivot to the floor. Again, think about what's connecting to the ground. Can I think about my left fingers? Can I think about my left palm? Can I think about that left shin? Maybe I lift up my right hand. Maybe this is where I stay today. Again, thinking my right hip is stacked right over my left. Maybe I lift up my leg, maybe not. Again, maybe we found one spot on the floor to focus on. That is the easiest for our inner ear. This is also known as our steady gaze, our drishti, if we like to follow that particular practice in yoga. Deep breath in if possible. Deep breath out. I know this isn't easy. Now when we're ready, we'll come down. And again, we might need a moment for the wrists. And when we are ready, we'll take a moment in child's pose. So again, give yourself that time in child's pose. I always think about what one of my teacher trainers once said. Child's pose is one of the hardest poses you will ever come into because it requires you to take time and give yourself a break. We might even remind ourselves of that for a moment, how tough it is to practice that self-care, to give ourselves that break. It's one of the hardest things we'll do, sometimes even harder than trying to get work done, trying to keep the household running. Giving ourselves that chance to be either in literal child's pose or metaphorical one. Now, when we are ready, we have the option of coming to down dog. Again, if we need more time in that self-care pose, we do it. But if we want to come to down dog, we're readjusting the hands, curling the toes, shifting back and up, and we might need to readjust. Maybe the feet need to walk back a little bit. Maybe we like to widen out the feet. As always, we can always do a wide-legged down dog. Maybe that's what we need today. Or maybe we like the version where the toes are close together. Both versions are valid. Just make this your own. Now, if we would like, we can add in the vinyasa flow of our choosing, and that might mean we've come to our plank pose. Maybe for the first one, we err on the side of knees down. That's a little easier for our shoulders. As we lower down, making sure those elbows are not winging out on us. And as we come up, likewise, can we make sure that whatever the elbows were pointing at, they stayed pointing in that direction? Now we want to press the belly to the spine so much that it brought us up to table, or even table with a little bit of a cat pose going on. We're going to curl the toes, shift back and up. Again, as we give ourselves a few moments here, we want to remember that this time is our own. Just because I'm guiding Vinyasa flow in a certain way does not mean we have to do it. Now maybe we can give ourselves another breath in. And another breath out. Now if we're ready, we'll find our way into our forward fold. Now that might mean we're walking the feet in or walking the hands to the feet. Make that time your own. We're going to take a moment in that first forward fold. Just hang heavy if we can. I always like to start off with bent knees, just allowing everything to drape down. And it might just feel good to shake out the head like we've said no. Maybe it feels good to nod out the head like we've said yes. Might feel good just to take a full breath in and a full breath out. Now, when we are ready, we'll find our way into our standing pose. So we're gonna press through the feet, try to press belly to the spine as well, protect that low back, those arms can reach up, and eventually we'll let our hands find their way to the heart. And we'll pause. We'll take that moment to breathe in. We'll take that moment to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we'll find our way into our standing crescent moons. We can let our arms reach up and overhead, however we want our hands together, whether we like those hooked thumbs, clasp palms with the pointers up, that right hand behind the left, whatever we need. We're gonna go up and over towards the right. But we always want to remember it's as much about lifting upwards as it is about the side bend. So trying our best not to find a goal of, I'm gonna kind of bend myself until I'm in 90 degrees or anything like that. I want you to focus on lifting through the back and then just lifting up and over, just adding in that little lateral stretch. We're gonna try our best to breathe in, try our best to breathe out. We'll come back up and we'll just switch sides. We're gonna come up and over in the opposite direction. And again, we don't wanna think, I'm side bending, this is as far as I wanna go. We wanna think, lift, up, and over. Full breath in if we can. Full breath out. One more breath. Come back up when we're ready. We'll let our arms relax down, maybe a little shrugging out of our shoulders. We're gonna find our way to chair pose when we're ready. So we're gonna try our best to let our toes point straight ahead. We shift back and down. We try our best to let the knees point in the same direction as those toes. And likewise, we really wanna think weight is shifting back. All too often when we come into chair pose, all of a sudden our knees go forward in order to do this pose. And we really wanna avoid that, or at least minimize it. So I'm thinking shifting back, and then shifting back and down. So we're gonna try our best to breathe in. I'm gonna try our best to breathe out. Full inhale. Full exhale, one more breath. When we're ready, we'll find our way into our forward fold. We can readjust, we can come down. We'll take a moment here, it's our forward fold. We wanna just hang heavy. Do we want our hands on the elbows? Hands behind the back. What do we need out of this forward fold? Again, one of the reasons why this class can be so open-ended, and I love to ask, what do we need? Is that we are trying to build up that toolkit of asking ourselves, what do I need right now? And then maybe as we're doing it on the mat, we're building up that toolkit, and then we can take it off the mat. And so for other type of self-care practices, giving ourselves that moment to go, what do I need? And then seeing if we can do that. Now maybe we can give this another full breath in. And a full breath out. Now as we are ready, we're doing the Vinyasa flow of our choosing, so that might look like adding in a halfway lift. We could exhale and plant the hands, and we might like the version where we mindfully step back. Again, make this time your own. Maybe we like to Vinyasa flow with the knees up, so maybe we like to do that little shift forward. We lower, we back bend, but still pressing through the belly. We might even try to think, I'm trying to make cat pose with my back, and then come up and back into our down dog. So again, just because I'm talking about conventional Vinyasa flows of lowering and back bending doesn't mean we have to do it. Again, make sure you're listening to your body. This is your time. Make sure you're customizing it. Only if it works for us. We'll play with our core. Now, if we're in down dog, we could lift up our right leg. If we're not in down dog, this is doable from table. Now, when we're ready, we'll bring our knee into the chest. We're gonna pause here. And again, can we think a little cat pose, a little round that back up, and then we'll unwind. Now, if we can, we're gonna bring our knee to our elbow. So left knee to left elbow, but pausing here. Can we think dog by a fire hydrant? We've lifted that leg up, we've rotated it out. The shin is trying to point out the wall, and yes, I know we're holding it for a while. And now we'll unwind. And then one last time, we're gonna do knee to same elbow. So knee towards same elbow, that shin is pointing out the wall, dog by a fire hydrant. I know, we're holding this for a while, you've got this. And then we'll unwind back to down dog split. If we're ready, we'll find our way into our warrior two. So we can always do knee to chest, foot towards that hand. We'll come up, we can always let the heel pivot down. We can come out to the side, we can readjust our feet as we need to. And we'll take that moment. Find that breath in if we can. Find that breath out. Deep inhale if possible. Deep exhale. When we are ready, we'll find our way into the extended side angle of our choosing. Sometimes it's nice to start with the front forearm on the front thigh. That just gives us a chance to notice where we are at today. Now, if we prefer, we could always lower down. Maybe the forearm or the elbow is, the hand is on our shin. Maybe we like to lower to a block or that stacked book or even a chair. We can hold on to a chair. Now, if we are in this particular pose and we've lowered down and this arm is on the inside of the knee, I want you to make sure that that knee is not collapsing into the arm. We're still actively pressing that knee out. It's okay if the arm's also pressing into the knee as well, but we do not want to lose muscle activation in the thigh. And again, if there's any other version of our extended side angle we like, and I didn't mention it today, come into it, do what you need. Full breath in if we need it. Full breath out. One more breath. On the strength of that inhale, we're coming right back up and we'll straighten our front leg. We'll take a moment to readjust if we need to. And we'll find reverse triangle. We'll let our weight shift back a little bit. Back hand can find the back leg. We can reach up. Maybe it feels good to go up and back. Same deal here though. It's not about can I bend my body into 90 degrees, but can I lift up? And through that lifting up, I've tilted over a little bit. It's a lot better for your back. Giving yourself a moment here. Full breath in if possible. Full breath out. Now, if we are ready, we'll find triangle pose. We'll come back up. We'll reach forward, cartwheeling down. Again, maybe it's hand on the thigh or the shin. Maybe it's onto that block or stacked books or that chair or that table. What do you need? Maybe even shelves if we're near shelves. But as we are here, maybe we can play with a light bit of spiraling through our chest. We're gonna press the belly to the spine and think about the heart trying to point out that top corner in the room where the ceiling and the wall meet. Now we're welcome to keep the hands still reaching straight up. Sometimes it's nice to get this nice full expansion through the arm. We don't have to do that. I know a few styles of yoga kind of frown upon that. Nothing really wrong with this. It's just stylistically it goes against some of the more classical teachings. I'm going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. Again, whatever version of triangle we need. I'm just showing more or less the basic one with a little extra spiral through the chest. If we don't want to do it, don't do it. If we want to add on something different, add on something different. Full breath in if we can. Full breath out. One more full breath. Now on the strength of our inhale, one last warrior two. We're going to bend that front knee. We're going to press. We're going to come up. We'll take a moment if we can. And then we'll find our way into the vinyasa flow of our choosing. So we could cartwheel the hands down and eventually we can step back. So again, if we like lowering down, my rule of thumb is that it's okay if your elbows go out a little bit, but make sure that that's the only, that when we lower down, it points in one direction only, and it never wings out or wings back in. Likewise, when we find our back bend, doing nothing funky with the elbows. Try not to lock your elbows out if you tend to do upward facing dog. And eventually press that belly to the spine. And we can think, I've pressed my belly to the spine so much, I'm trying to make cat pose. And then I come up and back to down dog. We're gonna take a few moments in the resting pose of our choosing. It's okay if down dog is not that resting pose for us right now. I'm gonna try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. Now remember, if you need extra time to rest, give yourself that extra time to rest. Find that line between when challenge helps you and when taking a break helps you. Now, if we are ready, we'll take our opposite leg. So if we start on the left side, now we're taking our right leg up, and we'll do our knee into the chest as we come towards plank. Little pause here if we can, little rounding up of the back, and then we'll unwind. Now, if we're ready, same knee, same elbow, and again, notice, can I get my shin to point out the wall, little dog by a fire hydrant position? I know this is tough, but this is gonna help some of our stabilizing muscles, and then we unwind. And then we'll try it again, knee towards same elbow. Really notice if you can turn that leg out. Notice if it tends to sink down to the ground. Really lift it out to the side, and we unwind. And now if we're ready, warrior two, so we can do our knee to chest, foot towards that right hand. It doesn't have to be that particular transition. I personally like to come up first and then rotate my heel down. That gives me a little more space in the hips. Opening out through the torso. Hips might not necessarily open out to the side. Don't force it. And we breathe. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. Now, if we are ready, we'll find our way into our extended side angle. So it could be forearm on the thigh. We could be lowering down a little bit. We can have our hand on that table or that block or that chair. But again, if we're lowering down, stay active through that leg. Those are the same muscles we were playing with in that core work. The same muscles that are going to keep that knee from collapsing into your arm, or the same ones that helped us with dog by a fire hydrant pose. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. Again, whatever version we need. It doesn't have to be the one I'm currently demoing. Deep breath in if possible. Deep breath out. Now, if we are ready, we're going to come back up. Back to warrior two. Pausing here if we can. We'll straighten our front leg. We'll let our weight shift back a little bit. We'll flip that front palm and back hand can find the back leg. Reverse triangle. Now, as we are here, noticing if we tend to lock out the knee. One of those harder, subtle things that we try to incorporate in our classes is to find the micro bend. Again, it might not be as pretty as a locked out knee, but it's kinder on our knees, kinder on the ligaments. It also helps us focus more of the stretch in the muscle itself instead of just transferring all that force down to the joint. Now with all that in mind, we'll find triangle. We'll come back up. We can reach forward now. We can cartwheel down only as low as we need. So again, maybe we play with that spiral. If you are like me, I like to add in a little height first before spiraling up, pressing through the belly, lifting and rotating through my chest as if my heart is trying to point out that corner where the wall and the ceiling are meeting. Again, we can reach straight for the ceiling even though the torso has twisted a little bit. We can fully extend out the arm, really make that your own. Again, just take a few moments to breathe. Make this time your time. Your time on your mat is yours. What do you need out of this pose? What do you need out of this moment? We really want to get into the habit of thinking like that. Full breath in if we can. Full breath out. Now, if we are ready, we'll find our way into our warrior two. We're going to bend that front knee, press through the feet to come back up. And now it's time for the movement of our choosing. So we can do cartwheeling the hands down. Maybe we've stepped back. Again, what do we personally need? Maybe we like to do a chaturanga push-up. And with those, I usually recommend coming down to the knees first, where we come to plank, let the knees come down, press through the belly, almost like we're trying to do a micro cat pose. We just do a very mindful lower halfway, mindfully come back up, and then come back to down dog. Again, we don't have to do that. The same way we don't have to do a lowering and back bending, we don't have to play with chaturanga push-ups. Make this time your own, and we're making sure we give ourselves at least a few breaths and something resting. Again, if we need more time in a resting pose than I am giving, pause the practice. Give yourself that time. Full breath in if possible, and full breath out. And then if we're ready, we'll meet at the top of our mat. If we want to play with that light hop to the top of our mat, we really want to think floating upwards with the hips, and the feet go where they're going to go. Don't try to think of it as feet to hands, but more hips have lifted, and maybe the feet have moved forward a little bit. So we think, look at the hands, press through the hands, lift up through the hips, little kick. Feet land wherever they're going to land. We walk the rest of the way. Now if we're ready, we'll find that halfway lift, strong back. On the exhale, we'll come down. On the inhale, we'll rise up. On the exhale, we'll bring our hands to our heart. And again, we're going to give ourselves that moment to notice. The heart is beating rapidly, potentially. Maybe we're slightly out of breath. Maybe muscles are tired. Notice how the body is responding to this challenge we've presented it. And again, our practice is all about cultivating habits on the mat that we can hopefully take off the mat. We might even take a moment to thank our body for doing the best it can right now to help us with our practice. All that hardcore work, all of that difficult stretching poses. Just taking that moment to thank the body. It's trying its best. Now, if we're ready, we'll find our version of standing half moon. Now, if we prefer that gate version, that floating gate, maybe we come back to get that. Again, that is our standing half moon, just on our knees. Now, we might make sure we have some type of props handy. Maybe it is a chair in front of us. A chair is a great option. It's a lot higher than a block and a lot more stable than a stack of books. If we have yoga blocks, wonderful. Maybe we make sure we have one more or less on either side of our mat. It's not a perfect science though, so remember that you might end up having to move it. I will personally be taking a few steps back because I know I'm going to need a lot of space in front of me. And we're going to start with a mini warrior two. Again, this is really just the platform for us to jump off. We're going to put weight maybe into that left leg first. Press that left foot. Send the right foot back just a little bit. We'll let the heels spiral down. We get tall. We'll open out. We might even stay here. Mini warrior two is where we want to be. Now, if we want to do our standing half moon, we're going to reach forward. We're going to cartwheel down. It could be to our shin. It could be to that block. Again, it's not an exact science. You might have to move that block around. Now, just like before, I want you to think about what's connecting to the ground. That's the foot, that's the hand. Can I press my foot into the ground? Can I secure my hand onto that block or whatever it's using? And use that focus to press and lift. And now, can I help my right hip stack on top of the left, the same way it did in our gate pose today? Now, reaching the arm up is a little more challenging than keeping the hand on the hip or the hand behind the back. It sends the center of gravity up. Likewise, looking straight to the ground is going to help your inner ear the most. Looking straight ahead is a little tougher. Looking to the wall is tougher still. Closing the eyes will almost guarantee you fall out of the pose. It's a nice reminder that our balance is quite literally all in our head. But again, just give yourself a moment with that. Notice where your challenge is right now. It's okay if legs are getting tired. It's okay if our balance is getting challenged. Can you notice it? Can you breathe through it? Can I breathe through this discomfort? Learning to be present when things aren't always 100% pleasant. And then when we're ready, we'll find our way back to warrior two. So maybe we shift our weight back. We let that foot come down. We come up. We'll step in, we'll step that back leg in, and I want you to pause before shaking things out. It's okay if you already did, but just take that moment to pause. Can you notice left leg? Can you notice the right? Can you notice the different signals they're sending to the body? They've had different experiences, so they're reacting differently. Just take a moment to notice that. And then we'll try it on the other side. So again, we might make sure we have some type of prop handy. We'll put weight into that right leg. If we start on the left, we're gonna press that right foot down, lift up the left leg, send it back just a little bit. Mini warrior two. Now when we're ready, we'll reach forward, we'll cartwheel down, maybe hand on the shin, maybe hand on a block, on a chair, maybe it's on the ground, make that time your own. But again, focus on what's connecting down. Focus on that right foot, focus on that right hand. Press through them and lift up if you can. Again, can I focus on my left hip, trying to stack on top of my right? And what do I need here? Do I want to look down? Do I want to look to the wall? Do I want to look up? Now again, one leg is probably going to have a different experience than the other, especially with balance. Usually our dominant leg is a little more challenged. It's a little stronger, but it finds it a little bit harder to find balance. Make that time your own. Can I be present with challenge? Instead of trying to count down the seconds until I'm out of this pose, can I just stay present here, even if it is not pleasant? Say that 3 times fast. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. One more breath, everyone. Now if we can, we'll shift our weight back. We'll come back up. We'll find warrior two. We'll come back to the top of our mat. We'll relax the arms. We'll step in. Can we take a moment to notice? Again, it's going to be a little bit different because that left leg did also go into the same pose, but it came into it earlier. But then notice how the right leg feels. Just take a moment to notice those sensations in the body. And then we'll take a moment with mountain pose if we can. We can always let our palms rotate lightly forward or even slightly away. We can close our eyes. And can we notice our heartbeat? We don't have to do anything here. We don't even have to thank the body or anything. Just notice that heartbeat for a moment. Now we're going to find the flow of our choosing. Again, go at your own pace. You don't have to go at the speed I am cueing. We could inhale our arms up and overhead. We can exhale to fold. Now maybe we find that halfway lift, strong back. Now we can exhale down. If we want to play with kind of floating back, the same way we played with floating forward, I highly recommend to first practice jumping back into down dog with bent knees. That's probably the safest way to start building up that strength before we do things like jumping back into, say, chaturanga. We press through the hands, and again, we're going to think lift through the hips, soft, bent knees, lift up, come back, bent knees as we lower down, and now we found down dog. Now again, any movement here, if we haven't done it already, maybe we like that conventional Vinyasa flow. Again, we want to think, can I go from a back bend to almost a cat pose? This is one of the great ways to kind of hollow out through the core, protect that low back, and then come up and back. And then whatever we found, I want us to all meet in child's pose. I'm just going to take a moment, knees have come down, we'll shift back and down. And I want you to take a moment here. Maybe notice now where you're connecting to the mat. Can you notice how the hands feel against the mat? The forearms, shins, the feet, the forehead. Can you take a breath that is so deep we can actually feel it expanding in the upper back? Can something soften on the exhale? And then when we are ready, we'll come into a seated position. Again, get there however we need to. We can always walk ourselves back. We can swing the legs around, roll the shins, anything we need. When we are ready, we might just take a moment to extend the legs for a moment. Maybe we shake them out a little bit. Maybe we move the feet a little bit. We're going to find our way into our wide-legged poses. So if we would like, we can let the legs widen out a little. We can widen out more than a little. If you're like me, it's sometimes nice to kind of do a little scooching forward. Again, notice what's going on, especially in the inner legs. If we find our toes have suddenly pitched forward, that means we've gone too far, and we want to narrow down the legs a little bit until they can point back up again. Now, if we can, we'll just pause kind of in this upright position. Can we press the belly to the spine? Can we get tall? Now maybe we add in a side bend. So we can take our left hand towards the left leg. We can reach up with the right, maybe up and overhead, and just take a moment with that. So it could be a nice kind of almost straight up and down position. We can add in that little spiral if the spiral feels good. Again, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Different things feel different for other different people. We're going to try our best to breathe in. We're going to try our best to breathe out. One more full breath. Now, as we're ready, we'll come back up. We'll take a moment, and then we'll try it on the other side. We'll let that right hand find the leg. We can lift up with our left arm, maybe up and overhead, maybe not. Again, we might do that nice vertical variation of this pose. This has benefits to it. We can add in the spiral, playing around with that little spiral through the chest. That just has different benefits to it. As always, we just look at what the poses are bringing for us, what they're bringing to the table for us, and we get to ask, is this what I need, or should I do something different? Now we're going to try our best to breathe in and breathe out. Now if we can, we'll come up, we'll relax the arms down, and maybe we do a forward fold from here. We can let the hands find the ground. As always, I like to use this as a bit of a, basically like support beams. My arms are doing all the work, and I'm just relaxing my back into it. Again, just like before, if we come so far forward that our feet collapse inwards, that's our cue to ease back. Now, especially if we have low back gets a little tender in this pose, or if it just doesn't feel good in any particular, for any reason, what we might do is we might think just very light hip tilts. Keep that low back relaxed, perhaps even thinking about how our low back tends to curve inwards a little bit. And we just stay upright. We don't have to add in the lowering down of the back if that doesn't feel good for us. But again, make that time your own. We're going to try our best to breathe in. And try your best to breathe out. 3 more breaths if it's possible. Now if we're ready, we'll come back up. Now if we can, we're going to stay with the legs where they are. If we need a break, give yourself that break. We're going to add in a twist, and we might start with a twist over towards that left side. So again, we might just think a little twist to the left. Maybe that left hand just follows suit and travels behind us. We could stay here. If we want to fold over that straight leg, great time to walk the hands out, or maybe the hands are on the leg itself. And notice what we need out of this pose. Notice how the back is reacting. Notice how the legs are reacting. It's not about the shape so much as our body's reaction to it. So again, notice what we are feeling here. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Full inhale. Full exhale. Now, if we are ready, we come back up. We try it to the other side. We'll just do our twist. Now, we're welcome to stay here. We're welcome to lean forward. Again, just make that time your own. What are you noticing out of this pose? And can it get 3 breaths? If we are ready, we'll come back up. We'll let our legs come back to center. Now what we might do is let our weight shift back a little bit, put our hands underneath our knees, let them bend, slowly bring them forward. It's okay if they're a little achy. And we're gonna do any movement we need here. Now sometimes it's nice just to bring the hands behind us and just let the knees knock a little side to side. This looks different on everybody. Some people like to let the knees move and the hips kind of roll with them. Others will really glue those hips to the ground and just let the knees knock. Others like to glue the knees together and let the hips do the rocking. Again, what do we need out of this pose today? What movement feels best? And then when we're ready, we'll come down onto our backs. Again, however we want to get there today. And once we are there, maybe it feels good to hug the knees in and rock. Maybe it feels good to roll out the knees a little bit. Now we'll play with potentially our happy baby. Again, happy baby's not for everybody. It's not for everyone all the time, for whatever reason that might be. And if that's the case, knees might stay into the chest. If we'd like, we could always let our hands find the shins, find the ankles, find the feet, find the toes or the big toe. Make this your own. Now maybe the knees stay bent. Some like to draw the knees lightly or maybe even with some moderate pressure to the ground. Some like to just let the knees wing out to the side so it looks like we're doing bound ankle pose. Others like to straighten one leg, bring it back, straighten the other leg, bring it back. Others like to straighten out through both legs, but checking in. If we're straightening out our legs and feel like our low back suddenly rolled up on us, maybe we rebend the knees or bring the hands lower down until it doesn't. That's our body's way of letting us know we went past our limits with our legs at that particular angle, and the back's trying to pick up the slack. Now, some people like to rock a little bit side to side, other people don't. And again, this might not be our pose. That is okay. Make this time your own if you do not want to do happy baby. Full breath in. Full breath out. Now, if we are ready, we'll let go of whatever it is we were holding on to. We'll let our legs come back together. It's okay if they're still a little achy. Maybe we move a little bit. We'll find our way into the twist of our choosing towards the right. Any twist whatsoever, and today might be a day we like to shift the hips towards the left. And just let the knees kind of go towards the right. I personally like to stagger them. Some people like to stack them. Arms might come out to the side, or we might do those goalpost arms, whatever we need here. We might even like to look away from the direction of the twist, and that just makes the twist go from essentially the hip area towards the collarbone area, and into the neck. But if that doesn't feel good, do not do it. And we're going to try our best to breathe in. Try our best to breathe out. 3 more breaths. Now, if it works for us, we'll come back to center, and maybe we find that in the opposite direction. Again, whatever we need here, whatever twist feels good, adjust and readjust. Remember that you are not beholden to any particular pose. You are beholden to one thing and one thing only right now, and that's yourself. And what you need right now, the challenges that will help you, the rest that will help you. Again, that's the only thing you're beholden to here. Can this get another breath in? And another breath out. Now, if we're ready, we'll come back to center. We'll move in whatever way we would like to move. And then this is our point where we can add in any additional poses or settle in for Shavasana. Now, we might like to settle into Shavasana by finding bound angle pose, by letting the knees stay bent, by rolling onto our side. And again, we can remind ourselves that the times of rest are sometimes the hardest for us to do. Those moments of self-care we kind of rail against the most. We see them as frivolous. I don't need these couple of minutes in Shavasana. I need to go tend to dinner, tend to my children, tend to that email. But give yourself this time, all right? So our Shavasana is only going to be a couple of minutes long, and as always, if we need longer, please pause the video, set a timer on your phone, and give yourself that extra time. I'll play my singing bowls for a little bit. I'll let them fade into silence, and then eventually I'll guide us back to our easy seat. Whatever we do between now and then is entirely within our power. You're welcome to take that breath in and take that breath out. We are welcome to return movement as movement feels right. And that might mean stretching out through our fingers and toes. As always, noticing if there's an impulse to rush through this process, to hurry it up and get to our seat already. And notice if we can slow that down, even if the mind rails against it. Just give yourself that extra time, a little extra stretching out through the arms or legs. If you can pause that impulse for even an extra breath or two, you are doing wonderfully. And if we build up enough movement, eventually we're welcome to find our own unique way back to our easy seat. Maybe we want to roll to one side, maybe even pause there for a little bit. Again, make that time your own. And eventually we'll all meet in our easy seat. Now we're welcome to keep our eyes closed for just a little longer. And eventually we'll let our hands come back together at the heart, palms together, palms over the heart, maybe even palms lightly pressing into the chest if that feels good. We'll seal in our practice with that moment of gratitude, and perhaps today we ask ourselves, if gratitude were a physical sensation, what would it feel like in my body? And then whatever meaning of namaste resonates today, and perhaps today it is the strength within me, recognizes the strength within you. I thank you for your time. And I thank you for your practice. Namaste.